Oh, hello there. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, joining us on the Reality After Show YouTube channel or over on Twitter, live streaming over there as well at Gabe Ortiz. Thank you so much. We love you all the same, wherever you're watching the show from. Got this little guard on the mic. Somebody in the studio put it on there, but it wasn't me. So if it's making the sound come in a little weird, please do not hesitate to let me know in the comments. Also, don't hesitate to leave your questions, concerns, whatever you want in the comments section as we move through the episode. Try to leave some time at the end of every episode to do a Q&A if there are questions in there that people are looking to get answered. So, going to be a bit of a shorter episode tonight, but I had to come on to talk about the weekend that I had. Oh my God. So, if you can see the title, you can see FCA Survivor. And I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering what the hell FCA Survivor actually is. Now, some of you who are real big fans might know, but for those of you who don't, Hunter McKnight from season 46, you remember him? Great at the challenges, very handy around camp, beautiful blonde hair, and a great beard to go with that. Also, my ninth place brother, part of the ninth place fraternity in the new era of Survivor. He currently works as a teacher, a coach, and many other things at French Camp Academy in Mississippi. It's quite out there in Mississippi, may I add. And during the summer, he runs a Survivor game for his students. Again, if you watch 46, if you remember a lot about 46 and particularly Hunter, you remember all of this. And for the first time this past weekend, he opened up. It's called Child's Play, is his version of Survivor that he runs with all of his students. He opened up Child's Play to adults. So this was an adult-only game that he ran for the very first time. He also added in a lot of Squid Game elements to it this time around. And there were a few names down there from the world of Survivor. Obviously, Hunter as the host. There was also me, Asia Welch, 47. Rachel Lamont, winner of 47. Andrew Ueda, 47. Sam Phelan, 47. Quintavious Bernadette, 46. Heidi from 44. Tevin from 46. And Owen from 43. So we had quite a crew down there. I hope I'm not missing anybody. Let me check just to be sure. But I think that was it. I think that there was 9 of us total. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah. So, and there were 100 total players in the game, right? So there were 9 survivors in the game, 100 total players, 1 winner in the end. We got there around 6 p.m. and it was pretty funny because I'm going to be honest, Hunter, if you're watching this, just know that we were proven wrong very quickly. But me, Rachel, and Andy were kind of thinking like, this is a lot. We got to go all the way down to Mississippi, in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi at that. So we had to fly into Memphis and then drive about 2.5 hours into Mississippi to be able to get to French Camp Academy in the first place. And we had to be there for the whole weekend. And we were like, this is a lot. Is this even worth doing? And then Hunter puts out a flyer with all of our faces on it. And next thing you know, we're like, oh, well, we kind of have to go now, right? I guess we have to go now. And we get down there, meet up with all the other Survivor people who were there. We had a nice little dorm set up for us. And the game started around 6 p.m. I didn't get voted out until probably 2 p.m. the next day. And there was no like, okay, everyone, we're going to go take 5 hours to sleep. No, there was no sleep. There was no food unless you want a reward. The challenges were quite taxing, and we'll get into that in a few minutes here. And the social strategy was so substantive. I never in a million years could have predicted that this experience would be as fun as it ended up being. I mean, it was fantastic across the board. All the new people that I met were awesome. Getting to spend time with survivors who I was both very close with and ones who I had never met before was awesome. The whole production that Hunter put on was awesome. I mean, just across the board, this was like a unbelievably fun weekend. Not to say that it wasn't also very difficult. So let's go back to the beginning here. 100 players start the game. And much like Squid Game, before every challenge, you have to put yourself into teams of whatever that challenge calls for. So maybe it's 10 teams of 10. Maybe you get down to 40 people and it's 5 teams of 8. You get the idea. 24 people, 4 teams of 6, 6 teams of 4. That's announced before every single challenge. And once you put yourself into those teams, you learn what the challenge is, and you learn if it is an elimination challenge or an immunity challenge. Now, if it's an elimination challenge, it runs like how you would expect Squid Game to run. Whichever team loses the challenge, they all get eliminated from the game. What got interesting is that there were also immunity challenges where one or more teams potentially could win immunity, and any teams that weren't immune were up for a vote. And this was a vote that everybody participated in. So you didn't vote as a team. Everybody got their own individual vote. Teams were decided by color. So if you had 10 people on the orange team, they could all vote for a different team that was up to be axed. And what made that so interesting is that you form these bonds with people by doing these challenges together with them, but everybody had their own motivations for how they wanted to vote. So just because everybody was on the same team for a challenge didn't mean that they were all going to vote the same way. And factions broke out very, very quickly. Very quickly. And the main divide to start the game was the town of French Camp had a lot of locals playing. Probably about 60 locals were playing in this game. And then there were about 40 of everybody else. People came from all over the place. Somebody came from Oregon. Some folks came from Florida. Obviously, I came from Maryland. And word got out very quickly that all of the French Camp locals were looking to band together to take out everybody else. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that did not sit very well with everybody else, particularly with all the survivors that were playing. So me, Tevin, Asia, Andy, Q, Sam, Heidi, we all came together and we started rallying all of these non-locals together to go and start targeting the French Camp locals. That was the first war that broke out in FCA Survivor 2025. And boy, oh boy, was it a war. And when we were walking out to that first challenge, I mean, Hunter McKnight, the genius that you are, this was the most survivor-like experience that I think anybody on planet Earth could do. I mean, it was unbelievable how genuine the entire thing felt. For the first challenge, we were walked out through the woods, through the brush, and then there was a clearing into this huge field. And there were these 2-scale survivor challenges everywhere. I mean, there was a full-blown obstacle course, jump over the wooden gate, crawl under the net into a watery mud pit, get out of the mud pit, crawl up a slanted ramp, get to the top, find an advantage or a necessary item up there, make your way back. I mean, it was crazy. It was unbelievable. The scale that Hunter was able to capture. It was fantastic. And once you get back to the communal camp area where all 100 people were to start the game, once you know who's on the line to be voted for, which often was many people or many teams rather, all hell breaks loose. And the very first challenge was a fire making challenge where it was teams of 10 teams of 10, and everybody had to go forage for fire making supplies, bring it back to the fire making station, make a fire with flint, burn the rope. The fire making challenge you're used to, but it was done in a team format, which made it fascinating. Now, I put myself in the fire making position, and due to sweating bullets out there in the Mississippi humidity, my hand kept cramping up. And so we kind of had this rotating cycle of people scraping magnesium, hitting flint, scraping magnesium, hitting flint. Finally, we get fire. Now, if you went through that obstacle course that I just described, there were matches waiting for you at the top of the obstacle course that you could bring back and use matches to start your fire, but there was a limited amount. So not every team got them. We were one of the teams that did not get them. We were also the first team to actually make fire with the flint, which I'm very proud of. Shout out to purple team, I think we were. We were a purple team to start. But then you get back to camp and all hell breaks loose because there's this 100-person scramble. I mean, you watch like old school Survivor where you had 2 teams of 10 and that first tribal where there is a tribe of 10 that has to go and scramble before tribal, and like it's chaos. Or like that first merge vote, those first few merge votes where it's 11, 10, 12 people out there scrambling. It's chaos. Now imagine 100 people trying to organize a vote together. Like it makes your head spin just how many different names you're hearing, how many different teams you're hearing are on the line to go, all the different plans, all the different fake plans, all the decoy plans. Like, I mean, it's something I've never seen before on any show. And yet Hunter was able to bring it to life in this very isolated and intimate experience. Other than a few kids running around with cell phones on Instagram Live, like this wasn't a show. This was just real life. We were just playing this game. And to have to navigate through that many people and about over half of the teams are up to be voted for, right? So you're voting in that first vote where there's still 100 people left in the game. You're going for 10 people at a time. So if you're saying everybody should vote for the red team, all 10 members of the red team get kicked out of the game if that team receives the most votes, even though the votes are cast individually, not as a team individually. And it's just this beautiful chaos that gets created. And as you get deeper into the night, you get far hungrier. You get extremely tired. I mean, you're just sweating and you're doing these physically demanding challenges. And it's like 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. And you're just so tired. And you think, you know what? Why don't, even if you just got to lay down on the ground? And there were hammocks and there were a couple mats that people were sharing. But it's like, why don't you just take a nap? Well, I'll tell you why you can't take a nap. Because again, Hunter McKnight, in his genius, put in a game mechanic where if a certain kind of music started playing over the speaker through camp, then people were able to eliminate other players in the game with a clothespin that everyone was given. And if you could stick that clothespin on somebody's jersey and not have them notice, then they get eliminated from the game. But that was only a viable strategy, or rather, it was only a usable strategy when this certain kind of music was playing over the intercom. So if you wanted to go and fall asleep, do so at your own risk, because you never knew when that music was going to hit. And I kid you not, the very first time that I was like, you know what? I have to lay down. I'm so tired. I'm so hungry. My head is pounding. I need to go lay down. The second that my head hit the back of the hammock, that music kicked on, and I instantly just had to get back up, and the entire time, you look like a chicken out in an open field with foxes and wolves, just moving your head back and forth, trying to make sure nobody sneaks up behind you. God forbid if somebody does sneak up behind you, you give them the most F off look ever. And it was this game mechanic that I've never really seen in any other game before, and it was awesome. It was like Assassin on steroids within this Survivor Squid Games experience that we were all playing. I mean, it was just so layered, and there was so much strategy, but also so much fun that was taking place. Like, by far the most fun part of Survivor, right? And I think many people would agree with me, but this is just my personal opinion. The most fun part of Survivor is that you have this liberty to just have fun. And a lot of Survivor is not fun, right? A lot of Survivor is very difficult. But you have this liberty to, like you are a kid again, run around outside in your bare feet with your shirt off and climb trees and just like fully give yourself to this game in a way that you would like when you were a kid. When you're playing, ultimate tag around your neighborhood, hide and seek tag, or, whatever games you played when you were a kid with all your friends in the neighborhood. Like, when it was a Saturday and you didn't have a care in the world, you could fully give yourself to those few hours of whatever game you were playing. It's all you cared about. It's all you had to worry about. It's all you thought about for when you were playing. Like, you could really give yourself to it. And that's something that you can't really do as an adult, right? At least not in the real world. Oh, well, I got to go to work tomorrow. Oh, I got to do this and this and this and that. That it's like, oh, we're playing a game. Okay, this is cool for now, but I'm thinking about what's my next thing going to be? What am I doing after this, right? And in Survivor, and it's something that Jeff says all the time, you got nothing to worry about but what you're doing right now. Somebody's watching your kids. Somebody's taking care of work for you. Somebody's feeding your animal. All you got to worry about is what you're doing right here, right now. And that is a very special, unique thing as a grown adult to be able to experience that. Like, and for that one thing to worry about to be this larger than life game is fantastic. It is such a liberating, childlike feeling that feels so impossible to capture in real life. And yet, when we were down at French camp in Mississippi, it felt like that. And I think a big part of that, obviously, is because you're playing through the night. It's like it's 2 a.m. Everybody I know is asleep. I got nothing to worry about other than making sure nobody puts this damn clothespin on me until this Korean children's music stops. Or it's 3 a.m. I got nothing to worry about right now other than making sure that this 40-person alliance I formed is all voting the same exact way. And they're all just as tired and as hungry as I am. And it was just so childlike in the best possible way. I really did feel like I was a kid again, the same way that I felt like I was a kid again when I was playing Survivor. And that is something that is just so cool and so unique. And I am not sure if he's going to do it again. I pray to God that he does it again so that I can go out there and I can invite people that I know to go out there and play again. But this experience, if you're watching this and you were hearing about Hunter doing this, or if you didn't hear about it, follow him on Instagram. Make sure that you know when this is happening again and do everything you can to go play because it is that fun and it is that similar to Survivor, as similar as you can get without being in Fiji. I mean, it was just fantastic. And what I think is special about this from a macro perspective is that something or somebody is going to come along and they're going to put on one of these grassroots type survivor games, right? And we all hear about these LRGs and like these college survivor games that get played and all this and that, but none of those are really that big, right? Those are usually pretty contained to pretty tight communities within the regions that they exist. And also, most of the time, in my experience, they take place at like a park, like a public park, a pretty limited space. And even though they're filmed and put on Instagram or whatever it may be, like they're pretty small time. What Hunter is able to do here, A, because he's been building these challenges and puzzles and survivor themed activities for so long that he has a huge backlog. He's got a whole closet full of them. But he also has the space that the campus of the school that he works at offers him to be able to have a campsite that can fit 100 people, to have multiple massive fields that he can put these huge obstacle courses on. And somebody is going to come along. I'm not saying it's going to be Hunter. It very well could be, though. Somebody's going to come along and they're going to make one of these grassroots social strategy survivor type games, and it's going to blow up. And they're going to put it on the internet, and they're going to get it decently edited and decently produced, and they're going to put it on the internet, and it's going to be huge. And it's going to dethrone Survivor and CBS and Paramount. I promise you. I promise you. Because right now, Paramount ain't in a great place. You don't have to do a lot of digging or be a media sleuth to know that. I mean, I think there are probably some political motivations behind that, but they just canceled one of their biggest shows in Stephen Colbert, citing financial reasons as why it happened. They had to pay $16 million to the federal government because of a lawsuit. They've been going through this disastrous merger over however many months. And somebody's going to come along and they're going to make their own version of Survivor. And it's going to hit big. And people are going to say, I'd rather tune into this. And I say this as somebody who is a deep fan of Survivor. Obviously, Survivor in many ways changed my life for the better. And I'll be forever indebted and grateful to Jeff and his team for that. But I don't think it's any mystery that people would be really interested in something different than what they're doing right now. And it felt for a very long time pretty far off that something like that would come around, right? Years, maybe even a decade or so before somebody was actually able to put all the pieces together to be able to have something that could not rival Survivor right out the gate, but chip away at it. And I was like, we're probably not going to see that for a while. I did this FCA thing this past weekend. If there was a pro camera crew out there, this would kill online, on YouTube, Twitch, wherever. This would kill. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, we might be closer to having one of these grassroots Survivor things, whether it gets picked up by a different network or whether it's just posted directly online to YouTube. We might be closer than we think to something coming in and legitimately challenging Survivor for their audience when it comes to these survival type social strategy, physical competition games. Because this was legit. This was as legit as I think anybody could do it, what Hunter did over this past weekend. And for him, I don't think that the secret sauce would be in making it a production. I think that he should definitely take more steps in that direction. Just my own humble opinion. He can do whatever he wants with this, and I will be a full-throated supporter of it. Pause. Full-throated supporter of it. But where I think the secret sauce for this is going to be in selling the experience, because the experience was awesome. And we had so many people come out from all over the country to be able to play this game and to play alongside us, other survivors. And you can bet your ass next year, if he runs this back, there are going to be a hell of a lot more survivors there. We were the early adopters, right? And I'm very proud of that. But there's going to be a hell of a lot more survivors there if he chooses to do this for another year. And there's going to be a lot more just rando people trying to apply and get on. I have no doubts about that. And I mean, oh my God. Some of the people I met, I was like, you need to put in an application video to be on Survivor ASAP. Maybe not everybody that I met, but there was a handful of folks where I was like, if you put on a video, especially if you had help from some of us on actually making your video, not only would you make it on the show, but you would kill on the show. And it was because we were able to observe them and interact with them and play with them in this environment that was so unique and so similar, so adjacent to what being on Survivor is actually like. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this was like, oh, I was in Fiji again. But it was close enough for me to take notice, to say like, oh, yeah, I know what this feels like. This feels like I'm scrambling before this feels like I'm scrambling before tribal. Oh, we're walking out to a challenge. I know what this feels like. It really was that similar. And there was this underlying mentality of like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi. There is nowhere else to go. Much like Fiji, where it's like, even if I quit, where am I going to go? That kind of puts you more into it. That made you want to play harder. That made you want to win more, because this was all you had to do. And so, we got a question here from Robbie. Was the starving tough? Yeah, it was. And, at least in Fiji, you had things you could forage for. There was no foraging out here. It was just be hungry. Just be hungry for a day. And when you're doing like long-term fasting, like you do on Survivor, and I've talked about this before, you do reach a point where it doesn't bother you as much. You're still hungry. You still feel really lightheaded and all that, but it's not as much of a nuisance being hungry. Where this, it's just a day. So yeah, I mean, a little more than a day. If you made it to the finals, you played for 30 hours straight, which is pretty crazy. I made it to about 20 hours. But the starving and the fatigue for this were really rough in their own way, because like you're just stuck in that state of like, I'm so hungry and my body will not shut up. When you're doing the long-term fasting, your body shuts up after a while. This is just like that first day with no sleep. That first day of Survivor, those first 2 days of Survivor, where your body will not shut up. But in this case, you can't even lay down to take a nap and eat some of those hours away. And man, was that hard. But even worse than that, I think, was the sleep deprivation. I mean, the sleep deprivation was like, just like all you wanted to do was go to sleep. My thing's out of focus here. Hopefully it'll line itself back up. But even if it doesn't, you can still hear and everything that you need. I think Johnny's in the chat, if you guys can tell. 20 hours, that tracks. Thanks for tuning in, CEO. But, like, the sleep deprivation, I think, was by far the worst part because 'cause you're just so tired and you're so delirious, but you have to form these massive votes. Like, you have to whip together, like, 30, 40, 50 votes to be able to be sure that not only will you get to the next round, but the people that you wanna see leave are leaving, and you're doing this with other people who are equally delirious. I mean, it's like, "Oh, well, there goes that." It's like a madhouse. It's an absolute madhouse. And you get to these challenges, and I can't tell you how devastating it is when somebody, or rather a team of people who you would really, really like to see go, and there's a consensus on seeing them go, and they just find a way to weasel their way out of it, or they win a challenge, or the vote doesn't go your way, and, like, it felt as maybe I have a little bit of recency bias here, I'm sure that I do, but it's like, I mean, it was I remember feeling that devastated on Survivor when a vote didn't go my way, which frankly was not very often. But, like, it really puts you back in that world, and for anybody who's ever been interested in playing Survivor, competing on Survivor, like, obviously try to apply to get on the real thing, but keep an eye out for when Child's Play comes back because it was awesome, and it was hard in the best possible ways. Pause again. I'm having a hell of a show. I'm quite tired still. I haven't caught up from all the sleep that I lost from being down in Mississippi and the travel. Did you get water? Was there a well? Yes, there was water. We did get water. They had like big coolers, like you would see on an NFL sideline or at a basketball game that we could get water from. So that was nice, but you're in this like awful Mississippi humidity. So all the water you drink, you sweat out in like 30 minutes, and then you're completely dehydrating, you're cramping up again, you gotta get more water. So it was like, yeah, but the water run was, like, constant. And then not only are you playing with all these randos, but you're also playing with other Survivor players. Q, oh my god. I got 20 hours of playing a social strategy game with Q. I don't know how those people did it for the 2.5 weeks they had to do it for. I'll give you a little behind the scenes. When we were starting, there was about 2 hours of mingling taking place before the game actually started, but we were all at the campsite. And Q was running around telling people there's actually 106 people here, and the 6 people that don't find a team of 10 for the first challenge are gonna get eliminated right away. Just not true. Just a complete lie, a fabrication that he created. But the way that you saw people scramble because of it was like it was uncanny. And we had Tevin walking around going like, "Oh my god, it's 46 all over again." So not only are you dealing with having to whip votes amongst the masses of people that were there, but you're also, in my case, competing with other Survivor player for those votes and the handful of people that had legitimate influence and savvy gameplay of all the randos that we were playing with. I mean, it was a fantastic experience. I have so much more to say. I'd like to get Hunter on the show, um, to actually talk to him about it, get, his perspective from the production side of the whole thing, from the hosting side of the whole thing, what he really liked about it, what he wished went better about it. I mean, I really want to pick his brain. So I want to save some stuff for that. And I also got to run in just a couple minutes here. So thank you so much, everybody tuning in. I know this was a shorter episode than usual, but I want to save some stuff for when we get Hunter on here to talk about it, which will hopefully be soon. Maybe we'll even do another midweek episode to tackle that if he can make some time for me. But FCA Survivor. Go tune into all the content that's been posted at FCA_Survivor. I'm sure if you follow Survivor players like Q, Asia, Rachel, Andy, me, Heidi, Owen, you've already seen us post some stuff about it on Instagram and on Twitter. I mean, it was a hoot, to quote my good friend Sierra. It was so much fun, and I cannot wait till next year. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My name's Gabe. This has been Gabe's Big Move. We'll be back next week.